Hello, welcome back to our story time. Today we're going to talk about Samuel, and our story is called Samuel Hears a Voice. So I'm going to read a little bit of the background, which is kind of what we've been talking about lately, and then I'll jump into our story. Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt. While they were there on the journey, he gave them laws from God that told them the right way to live in the new land. Eventually they did reach the place and made it their home. When they kept God's laws, things went well. When they didn't obey God's laws, things went badly. Here is the story of one of the great leaders God sent to help them know right from wrong. Long ago, in a little town perched among the hills, lived a man named Elkanah. He had 2 wives, as was the custom at that time. One wife was called Peninnah, and she had several children. Elkanah was very proud to be a father. The other wife was called Hannah. To tell the truth, Elkanah loved Hannah more than he loved Peninnah, but Hannah was still very unhappy. The reason was that she had no children. Peninnah always made her remember that, and her unkind words made Hannah feel worse and worse. One day, the family went to worship God at a place called Shiloh. There was a shrine there. It was hung with the finest curtains, and in the innermost part was a beautiful gold box. Inside the box was a copy of the laws God had given the people in the time of Moses long before. Old Eli was the chief priest of the shrine. He tried to tell people how to live as God wanted, but he wasn't very good at it. Even his sons disobeyed God, and they were meant to be priests as well. Even so, Hannah believed that the shrine was special and that God would hear her prayers there. As she prayed, she cried and cried. The priest, Eli, saw her. He didn't understand what was going on, and he was bothered at the way she was behaving. "What's the matter with you?" he asked crossly. "You look as if you've been drinking too much. Go away from here." Hannah looked up. "It's not that," she said. "I'm just really unhappy, and I've been telling God all my troubles." "Oh," said Eli, rather grumpily. "Well, in that case, may God answer your prayers." Hannah went away feeling a bit happier. By the same time the following year, she was a lot happier. She had had a baby, and she had named him Samuel. When he was a few years old, she brought him back to the shrine to show Eli. "Do you remember me?" she asked. "I was the woman you saw praying. Well, God answered my prayers. Here's the child I long for. Now that he is old enough, I am going to give him to God to do God's work all his life." Eli took care of young Samuel. Every year, Hannah came back to visit, and every year she brought new clothes she had made for him. Meanwhile, Samuel learned more about God and the right way to worship God. He really cared about those things. Eli's sons weren't at all interested. In fact, they behaved worse and worse. One night, when Samuel was sleeping near where the golden box was kept, he heard a voice calling him. That must be Eli, thought Samuel. He jumped up and went to Eli, for he knew the old man was almost blind. "You called me," said Samuel, "and here I am." "I didn't call you," said Eli. "Go back to bed." Samuel did so, but then he heard the voice again. He went running to Eli again. "You did call me," he said, "so here I am." "No, I didn't," replied Eli rather crossly. "Go back to bed." The same thing happened a third time. This time Eli knew what was happening. "It is God who is calling you, Samuel," he said. He spoke more gently than he had in a long time. "If God calls again, say, 'Speak, Lord, I am listening, and I am ready to do what you want.'" God did speak again. God told Samuel that Eli's wicked sons were going to be punished. When Eli heard the news, he was very sad, but he knew that God was right. He understood that God had chosen Samuel for something special. As Samuel grew up, everyone began to see that he was a prophet, someone who spoke with all the wisdom of God. Samuel became a great leader of the people. He helped them to make wise decisions and to live in the way that was right and good. So that's a pretty cool story about Samuel. And there are lots of things in that story that I really like. And one is how Hannah, Samuel's mom, trusted God and she prayed. And that's very important. And when Hannah went to the temple in Shiloh, she knew that God would hear her prayers. But the awesome thing is God hears our prayers no matter where we are. So even if you're swimming or if you're about to go to bed or if you're at school, God will always hear your prayers. And so Hannah trusted that God would hear her prayers, and then he gave her a son. But after that, she knew that Samuel was for something special. So she gave him to Eli to help serve God and as a priest. And then finally, whenever Samuel hears a voice, he says, let me find it again. He says, "Speak, Lord, I am listening and I am ready to do what you want," which is pretty cool because sometimes it can be hard to listen and to do what God wants us to do. So that's a reminder just to look where you can help other people and serve God. So I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.